Welcome back to Smile and Scars, the place where real stories hit harder than any punch, and where respect, strength, and humility matter more than anything. Today's story is about an ex-Navy SEAL who thought he was unbeatable until the wrong man stepped into the ring. Stay with me till the end. The story begins inside a massive community-centered gym in San Diego. It was hosting a charity martial arts event, an open mat gathering where fighters from different backgrounds could test their skills in friendly sparring matches. No trophies, no belts, no championship, just pure technique, discipline, and camaraderie. But not everyone understood the word discipline. Some only heard the word fight. That's where he entered, Jackson Iron Jaw Colton. He was an ex-Navy SEAL, built like a tank, arms covered with military tattoos, and the kind of swagger that could be heard before he even stepped into the room. People whispered his name as he walked through the crowd. He was known for demolishing opponents during his tours, known for surviving ambushes, and known for boasting about it every chance he got. The moment he stepped into the gym, he shouted loudly, "All right, which one of you wants to get knocked out first?" Everyone turned. Everyone stared, everyone sighed, because Jackson wasn't just confident, he was arrogant. Painfully arrogant. A purple belt instructor politely approached him. "Sir, this is a friendly sparring event, not a street brawl. We're here for charity." Jackson laughed so loudly the room echoed. "Friendly? What's friendly about fighting? I could beat every man here with one arm tied." He flexed, smirked, and kept talking like a man trying to intimidate an entire building. A group of local fighters watched from a distance, Muay Thai guys, Jiu-Jitsu practitioners, amateur boxers, but none were interested in feeding his ego. That only made Jackson louder. "You all look scared. One hit from me and you'll be asleep. Navy SEAL training makes you unstoppable. Come on, anyone." A few younger fighters exchanged irritated glances. Some wanted to shut him up, but their coaches stopped them. No one wanted the event turning into a bloodbath. And then something unexpected happened. A man entered quietly through the back door. He wasn't huge, he wasn't loud, he wasn't dressed to show off, black long coat, calm eyes, controlled posture. A small nod to the organizers, Steven Seagal. He had been invited to support the charity event, but hadn't planned on participating. He simply wanted to watch the new generation train, maybe share a few lessons, and then leave quietly. But fate had other plans. As Steven walked past, Jackson turned and shouted, "You hey long coat grandpa, you here to fight too?" A silence spread across the gym. Even the air froze. Steven turned politely. "I'm just here to watch." Jackson burst out laughing. "You watch? You're shaking just standing there. Come on, old man, don't be shy." He slapped his chest. "If you step into that ring, I'll finish you in 10 seconds. People whispered, "He has no idea who he's talking to. That's Steven Seagal. This idiot is finished." But Jackson only heard what he wanted to hear, his own voice. Steven simply responded, "I'm not interested. Enjoy your day." But turning his back was the mistake Jackson couldn't handle. "Oh look, the great Steven Seagal is running, scared of a real fighter, huh?" That was it. The entire gym felt uneasy. You could disrespect anyone, but disrespecting Steven Seagal, that too publicly, in a martial arts arena. That crossed every line. Steven stopped walking. He didn't get angry, he didn't shout, he didn't threaten. He just breathed slowly, turned his head, and said in his calm, deep voice, "If you insist on fighting, I won't run." Jackson smirked like he'd won already. "That's what I'm talking about. This old man's finally growing a spine." Spectators gathered around the ring. Phones came out. Trainers held their breath. They knew what Seagal was capable of: effortless, controlled, dangerous precision. Jackson, however, saw only an aging martial artist he thought he could break in half. The referee stepped forward. "Light sparring only, no strikes to injure." Jackson waved him off. "Relax, ref, I'll be gentle." Steven stepped into the ring with quiet dignity. His coat came off, revealing his traditional black training uniform underneath, something he always wore when attending martial arts events. His posture was relaxed, but his presence was intense. Jackson bounced around aggressively, punching the air, cracking his knuckles. "You ready for a real fight, old man?" Steven simply raised one hand slightly, a gesture so simple, so elegant, it made Jackson frown. The bell rang. Jackson charged like a bull, leading with a wild punch meant to take off Steven's head. Steven didn't even move his feet, just turned his body half an inch. The fist missed. Jackson stumbled. Before the crowd could blink, Steven tapped his wrist, twisted, redirected his momentum. Thud. Jackson's back slammed onto the mat. The entire gym gasped. He jumped up, embarrassed. Lucky move, try that again. He rushed again, faster, angrier. Steven caught his arm, rotated it, locked the elbow, guided the energy. Bam. Jackson was on the floor again. 2 moves, 2 throws, 0 effort. The crowd erupted. Someone whispered, "Does he not know Aikido is all about using your opponent's strength against him?" Jackson growled, "I'm done playing." This time he aimed a brutal kick to Seagal's ribs, a kick powerful enough to break bone. Steven lifted one hand, caught the kick in midair, twisted gently, and Jackson dropped, screaming as his balance vanished. Steven released him instantly, not wanting to cause injury. The ex-SEAL rolled back, breathless, shocked, humiliated. This wasn't just defeat, this was exposure. Exposure of arrogance, exposure of ignorance. He got up slowly, sweat dripping, chest heaving. "Fight me for real," he yelled. Steven stepped back, calm as a still lake. "You're not fighting me. You're fighting your ego." The entire gym fell silent. Jackson's face turned red. He charged one last time. Full force, no technique, pure rage. Steven stepped aside. One movement, one palm strike. Not to injure, but to end it. Jackson froze. His body collapsed to the mat like a shut-down machine. The referee rushed in. "He's out." Spectators exploded in cheers. Technicians recorded everything. Students looked at Steven with awe. No one had seen such effortless destruction. Steven calmly stepped out of the ring, picked up his coat, and said, "Please respect the art. Strength without discipline is just violence." And he walked away. Jackson woke up minutes later, surrounded by the same people he mocked. The humiliation was complete. And that was only half the story. Begins with Jackson slowly sitting up on the mat, dizzy, clutching his jaw, trying to understand what had just happened. The gym lights felt brighter, harsher, almost accusing. Whispering spread in every corner, whispers he could feel cutting deeper than any punch. The ex-Navy SEAL, who had just bragged about beating every man in the room, had been folded like a towel in seconds. He stood up, still trembling. His pride was gone, his ego was shattered, but instead of getting angry again, Jackson lowered his head. For the first time that day, he looked human. Meanwhile, Steven Seagal had already walked toward the exit, putting on his long black coat. He wasn't interested in victory. He didn't need applause. His lesson was delivered, and he wanted to leave quietly, with dignity, as he always did. But the crowd wasn't done with him. Students, instructors, even parents rushed toward him with admiration. Some bowed, some asked for autographs, others simply stared in awe. But Steven kept repeating the same calm words: humility, respect, always. Back in the ring, Jackson clenched the ropes and tried to stand straight. His mind replayed every second of the fight, the effortless throws, the calm expression on Steven's face, the precision that didn't come from anger but from mastery. It humbled him in a way he had never experienced. He looked around at the gym, the same people he had insulted minutes earlier. When he locked eyes with some of them, they didn't look amused, they didn't look entertained, they looked disappointed. And that hurt the most. The event organizer, Master Lindro, approached him, a respected martial artist with decades of discipline behind him. He folded his arms and said, "Are you done proving how strong you think you are?" Jackson swallowed hard. I didn't know. You didn't want to know," the master replied. "You came here to dominate, not to learn." Those words sliced through him, sharper than any blade. All his training, all his military experience, all his victories, none of it meant anything without control. Without humility, without respect. Steven had shown him that with a single palm strike. Outside the building, Steven walked through the parking lot. The cool air brushed against his coat, carrying the quiet hum of distant traffic. He expected the day to end peacefully. But footsteps approached from behind, fast, desperate. "Mr. Seagal, sir, please, wait." Steven turned slightly, ready in case of trouble, but relaxed when he saw who it was. Jackson Colton. He wasn't charging, he wasn't shouting, he wasn't smirking. He was walking slowly, shoulders lowered, breathing unevenly as though each step was an apology. I needed to talk to you," Jackson said, stopping a few feet away. "Please?" Steven nodded once, allowing him to continue. "I've fought in war. I've survived things most people can't imagine, and somewhere along the way I thought that made me better than everyone else." His voice broke. "I thought strength was enough." Steven remained silent, but his eyes softened. Jackson took a shaky breath. "In the ring, today you made me feel something I haven't felt in years." He looked down at his hands. "Vulnerability, humility, and regret," Steven added gently. Jackson nodded quickly. "Yes, regret. Not because I lost, but because I came in here looking for someone to break." Steven glanced back toward the gym, "And instead you broke your own pride." There was no mockery in Steven's tone, just truth. Jackson took another breath. "Sir, thank you. I know it sounds strange, but thank you for not hurting me. You could have, you really could have, but you didn't." Steven stepped closer. "Pain does not teach as deeply as humility does." Jackson felt his eyes burning, embarrassed but unable to hide it. "I want to change," he said quietly. "I want to control the anger, learn discipline again, earn respect instead of demanding it. And if you could maybe guide me." Steven stayed silent for a moment. Then he placed a firm hand on Jackson's shoulder. "You cannot break a habit overnight. Ego is stronger than fists, but if you're willing to learn, truly learn, you'll find your strength in the right direction." Jackson nodded, swallowing back emotion. "I'm willing." Steven took his hand off his shoulder. "Then come inside." The two men walked back toward the gym. Inside, every head turned. No one expected Jackson to return, and definitely not beside Steven Seagal. Master Lindro's eyebrows lifted. "Is this for more fighting?" he asked sarcastically. Jackson shook his head. "No, sir. This time I came to apologize." He stepped onto the mat and bowed to the entire room, the same room he insulted earlier. "I came here trying to prove I was unbeatable, but I was wrong. Strength without respect is nothing." He bowed again lower. "I'm sorry." A quiet wave spread through the gym. Surprise, respect, approval. No one mocked him, no one laughed. Because everyone understood what it took for a man like Jackson. A former SEAL, a fighter, a man built on pride. To bow his head and admit he was wrong. Master Lindro nodded slowly. "An apology is a good start, but humility must continue every day." Jackson nodded. "I understand." Steven stepped beside the master. "If he's willing, I'll help coach him." A gasp filled the room. Students lit up like fireworks. Jackson's jaw dropped. You'd train me," he stammered. Steven folded his arms. "I won't make you invincible. I'll make you disciplined." That hit Jackson harder than any throw. Training began that same day. Steven taught him footwork first. Not punches, not kicks, not takedowns. Just how to move with balance. Jackson tripped twice. Steven didn't laugh. Instead, he said, "Balance comes before power." For the next hour, Steven demonstrated Aikido movements, circular redirections, balance breaking, energy flow, timing, the art of non-resistance. Jackson struggled to absorb it, but he listened, he learned, and he kept his ego outside the ring. The younger fighters watched with genuine respect. Not because Jackson was strong, but because he was willing to unlearn. As the sun set outside the gym windows, Jackson finally understood. Power isn't loud, power isn't aggressive, power isn't ego. Real power is controlled, calm, aware. Steven ended the session with a simple statement. "You fought the wrong opponent today, not me, yourself." Jackson bowed deeply. "Then tomorrow, I want to fight the right one." Steven gave a rare half-smile. "Good. Then training starts at sunrise." And that night, as Jackson left the gym, something inside him felt lighter. Not because he learned martial arts, but because he learned humility. Meanwhile, the video of the match had already hit social media, the ex-SEAL being tossed with zero effort. The arrogance, the fall, the lesson, millions watched it. Thousands commented. Most of them said the same thing. That's what happens when ego meets mastery. But Jackson didn't care about comments. He cared about tomorrow, tomorrow's training, tomorrow's discipline, tomorrow's chance to rebuild. And Steven Seagal. He didn't train Jackson to turn him into a fighter. He trained him to turn him into a better man. By sunrise, Jackson was already outside the gym, waiting, standing still, breathing slow, trying to center himself. And when Steven arrived, he didn't say good morning. He simply said, "Let's begin." And so began the transformation of a man who once bragged that he could beat any man in the room, only to discover that true strength lies in humility, respect, and control. In that lesson, Jenny was far more powerful than any fight.